I call to order the August 14th, 2018 meeting of the Saline County Board of Commissioners. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Shadwick?
Here.
Commissioner Sparks?
Here.
Commissioner Vidrickson?
Here.
Commissioner Weiss?
Here.
Commissioner White?
Here.
I ask that you please stand and join me in a flag salute followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We'll now move to the public forum where citizens may speak on county government, usually limited to 3 minutes, and on items that are not on today's agenda.
Norman Mantle, Saline, Kansas. I spoke to you last week about raising taxes in Saline County, and it drives businesses out of the county. I don't know if you've seen this or not, but you got a local business that's leaving the county.
Thank you.
And my next comment is, at the bottom of the city's paper, when they have their council meetings, it says right there at the bottom, citizen participation is democracy. But yet we don't have it at the bottom of the county paper. So I guess we don't have citizen participation in every issue? Should be.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak to the commission?
Karen Shade, Salina. I put before you a copy of a letter I received from two individuals at the Kansas Department of Health and Environment. It was in response to the same issues I raised before you. As they stated, and we're well aware in Saline County, the state has very little control over local health departments, so that puts a special responsibility on all of you to make sure that ours is meeting the needs of citizenry. They do have a local public health program that helps ensure that the local health department is best meeting citizenry needs. That's going to be something where as you go to Kansas Association of Counties and those kind of things, you might be on the lookout and be more aware of. They are going to make resources available or follow up on my concerns with the Kansas Hospital Association, who might work with Salina Regional Health Center. What really concerns me is their process for identifying the greatest needs, health needs in the count or in the region. Hasn't changed in 6 years, and Jason Tiller hasn't been able to have the impact. He was trained by, I'm guessing the state, perhaps the CDC, on ways to do it better, and the hospital proceeded without his involvement. And that's greatly concerning. The other thing Commissioner Weiss and I were talking about yesterday was when they did have the forum where they presented the different health needs and had people rank them. Central Kansas Foundation had was addressing substance abuse, and one of the things that I asked them about was their goal is to reduce death from meth abuse. Well, putting meth users in our county jail prevents death, but that's kind of at cross purposes from what our goal might be, which might be to try and provide some treatment. At $35 a day or more, they're not getting treatment, it's just they're being warehoused. So that's a concern. And so I just wanted to bring those matters before you and ask for your continued consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
My name's Darrell Allison, and I've got a letter here that I would like for the chairman, Roger Sparks, to present to the Fair Board. And I also handed out a piece of paper to each one of you, and I figured you guys can deal with that however you see fit. But I'd like to have this letter presented to Roger Sparks so that way he could present it to the Fair Board. Would that be okay?
That'd be fine.
Okay. that's all I've got to say. Thank you.
Okay,
All right,
thanks.
thank you for your time. Anyone else? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the commission for regular business. Item number 1.
Approve agenda for public forum as presented.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the agenda for the public forum as presented.
Second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve today's agenda for the public forum as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 2.
Livestock and Expo update with Rick Lamer, Livestock and Expo Director.
Good morning, Rick.
Good morning, Commissioners. This will be my second quarter update for the Expo Center, Weed Department, and County Farm. I'll start with the noxious weeds. Right now, the 2 weed guys are out spraying Johnson grass. Balance in the noxious weed capital outlay fund is $45,693.17. Deposits for chemical purchases for 2018 is $70,474.05. The county farm, I did talk to a couple leaseholders. They were told me 30 to 40 bushel an acre weed out there, so it wasn't great, but it wasn't terrible either. The balance in the farm account is $185,023.01. The 3-year leases on the farm ground expire March 1st, 2020. And this past July, we had to do some work on the ponds out there at the county pasture. This is 310-acre county pasture. You can see the ponds were drying up. That was last month. That was another one of the ponds out there, pretty dry. And this was August 3rd of this month, after these few rains that we've had kind of helped them out a little bit. This is the tank that you see on your paper. We had to do some repair work. When them ponds dried up, this was the cattle's only source of water. This is a picture of it after the repair. You can see it's running full of water. It's fed by a underground spring. And that was put in about 20 years ago out there. And what we discovered is it wasn't keeping up with the cattle. You know, they were drinking it dry, so we had a plumber go out there and run a camera down that line, and it was broke. About 100 foot of line had numerous leaks and was busted, so we had that replaced and flushed out. So now it's running a full stream again. But now they don't need it because there's water in the pond. But there for a month, that was their only source of water, so it was good to get that fixed up. And I apologize for this deal. My secretary tried to animate this, and it's making it kind of difficult. Anyway, this is the Tri-Rivers Fair. I have to commend my staff because we are down 2 people that no longer are employed with us, but they made sure they worked the hours, got everything done without any problems. This is a picture of the Saturday livestock sale. You can see it was pretty well attended. And that's kind of a dark picture, but this was at the demo derby. The car count this year was down, but they did pack the seats, you know, as usual. It was a big crowd. You can't really see it, but that grandstand and everything was full. This is a picture of several of the draft horses getting ready to go in for the draft horse pool. And, you know, I didn't think this event was very well attended. I think there was probably 100 people there. And that is a shot of the rodeo. Actually, the rodeo, they did have quite a few more people in the crowd this year than last year. So I think attendance for it was up a little bit. But as you can see all those trailers parked back there. That's about what they draw every night as far as participants. Another shot of the draft horse pool. This was the beef show at the fair. Beef count was up. They had a lot of cattle this year. So they had a pretty big beef show this year. I don't know why this thing, there we go. This is a 4-H rabbit show before the fair. A lot of these 4-H kids that live in the city, you know, they can't get a cow or a pig, so mom and dad get them rabbits. This was a little rabbit show before the fair. This is a 4-H spring beef show. What this show is it's open to 4-Hers, first show of the year to kind of get these animals ready for the fair. And it was actually snowing that day, and they really had a good turnout for that. This is the mini horse sale that we have every year. They normally bring in about 100 of these miniature horses and have a sale. This was a Shrine Circus hot dog feed. The Shriners decided to bring busloads of kids to Kenwood Hall and feed them before they went to the circus at Tony's Event Center. And there was probably thousands of kids that went through there that day. This is a Kansas dressage show. It's a long time show. I guess the best way to explain dressage is it's when you get on a horse and the less commands you have to give it, the better you show. It's like being one with your horse, that it knows what you want it to do. This was the Kansas Meat Goat Show. It was a large show, had over 200 goats. Another one of those shows that we have every year. You can see a lot of those trailers parked on that buy center lot. That's usually a no-no, but they never said anything to us this time. This was a mini horse show. We have 2 of these a year. They usually draw anywhere from 75 to 100 head of horses. This was a new show this year. It was a national Kansas donkey show. These people approached me last spring. They were at a venue that they didn't like the way they were being treated, so they moved it to the expo center. They probably had about 130 head of these miniature donkeys. It was kind of interesting to me because I've never had a miniature donkey show over there. These people are, I mean, they're real friendly, glad to talk to you about their animals. I didn't know that a lot of these donkeys can live to be over 50 years old, so it was kind of interesting. This is the Area 6 Shetland and Miniature Horse Show that we have every year, another 3-day horse show. They probably bring in normally 60 to 70 head of horses. And this is the National Dexter Show, last roundup in Kansas. This show is bylaws. I've had them for 3 years. Every 3 years in their bylaws, they are to move the show somewhere else for a year. But they did tell me they will be back in 2020. So I really do hope to see them back. They really enjoy the facility. They brought in this year about 157 head of cattle. They used the whole facility. They used 4-H in Kenwood for their seminars during their cattle show. This is the Palomino Breeders Horse Show. It's a 3-day show that we've had for a number of years. It was actually a pretty good size show this year. They brought in about 150 head of horses. 4-H Dog Show right before the fair. This was in Ag Hall. Kind of a pre-fair tune-up, and then there's my schedule for next month. And I did get a email late before I came to this meeting from Kayla Audie with GH2 Architects. She met with Martha Tasker and HDR yesterday about the Expo Center proposal. She said the meeting went good, she thought. She's wanting to set up a meeting the first week of September with the Expo Committee to go over master plan options and construction costs, and to go over what they talked about in the meeting with Martha Tasker and HDR. I didn't get a chance to read what all they talked about, but I'll send you guys a copy of that if you'd like. And then I did highlight that HDR and Martha Tasker noted that they have a meeting scheduled for October 9th. It was agreed to set October 9th as the target date for having the Expo evaluation wrapped up so that the preferred comp set may be incorporated into HDR's plan in time for this meeting.
Okay, very good. Anything else?
That's about all I have to report. I'll take any questions you have.
Questions or comments from the commission?
Rick, there was a survey circulated during the fair time. Any results back that you know of?
I printed up 200 of those and give them to the fair board to circulate. I've got 12 back.
I see. Forthcoming.
Hopefully.
Yes, and I just want to commend you guys on your staff and everything else because it went very well and it's
Thank you.
it's fun to be around. It was a good deal.
Is there any public comment regarding the Expo Center? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the commission. Rick, thank you for your work and your report. And we'll move on to item number 3.
RFA 175-18, Sunflower Adult Day Services contract with Rosie Welter, Senior Services Director.
Morning, Rosie.
Good morning. When Saline County took over from the Commission on Aging, we had to redo a lot of contracts. So one of the contracts is the food services that we provide for Sunflower Adult Day Services. We provide anywhere from 15 to 20 meals Monday through Friday for them. So Mike Montoya and I met and we went through this agreement and came to agreement that it's okay if we can get your permission to sign today.
Questions from the commission?
Are those frozen meals, or are those just the fresh ones that you're serving normally? Normally there, then you're just taking it over there?
Correct.
Okay.
They like it family style, so we get a call from them every day saying how many patrons they're going to have, and then we package it up, and they have a staff member that comes over and picks it up.
And those numbers run from 1 to 100, or what's the number?
I would say 15 to 22 every day.
And our charge for that is?
Regular full price, $4.75 per meal.
Can't eat anywhere around for that, not even at home, I don't think.
No, that's a win-win for both of us.
Now, are these, you say this is family style? Were you able to, how do you do the portioning in the pans then?
Well, our Aladdin, the group that we contract with, they actually do all of that. So they know what a portion size is. So if they say 15, they give them 15 chicken fries. If it's fried chicken, you get 2 pieces of fried chicken. I know that that was a concern in the past, but I think that we got a handle on that, size-wise.
And the dietary needs, or who's responsible for that?
Aladdin. We actually added an addendum, Mike and I, to this contract so that the responsibility is on Aladdin.
I don't see it here that the length of the contract is what?
The length of the contract, just for a year.
So it begins when?
Well, she put 8/1 of 18, and we can change that to 9/1.
Well, I'm okay, but I just want a clarification when it really is, so.
Okay.
But I didn't see that here. Okay, any other questions? Is there any public comment? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the commission for possible action.
Mr. Chairman, I move we sign the contract for Sunflower Adult Day Services, Inc., as requested by staff.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we sign the contract with Sunflower Adult Day Services as requested by staff. Is there any further comments? Call for the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Rosie.
We'll move to item number 4.
RFA 174-18, bid award for project 18-5374, the Waterwell Road Bridge, with Darren Fishel, Road and Bridge Administrator.
Mr.
Morning, Darren.
Mr. Chairman, I move we remove RFA 174-18 from the table for consideration and possible action.
Second the motion.
All right, it's been moved and seconded that we remove RFA 174-18 from the table and for consideration, possible action. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We are back on for this project.
Commissioners, after some discussion, we would ask that you reject all bids and not award the project until the appropriate engineering staff can be hired to review and oversee the project and possibly rebid it at such time.
Questions from Mr. Fishel?
Darren, and just for the public's knowledge, is one of the things that, why are we proposing this?
We no longer have an engineer on staff in our division, so he was the one that made the plans, drew the plans, and his stamp is on them. And so there is some, not sure that we can oversee the project.
Gotcha. Thank you.
And the timing of this doesn't concern you about, bumping it off 6 months or a year or whatever?
No, not at this time.
Okay.
And for the public knowledge, that bridge is posted at a 3-ton limit.
Yes.
So there shouldn't be an issue there. If someone goes over with a 20-ton truck and it falls in, why, we're covered.
Okay.
All right, I'll ask for any other comments from the commission, questions, whatever. I will ask for public comment.
Norman Mantle, Salina. Issues have been raised about your contracts, how you do this on the road, and one of the issues is, well, the length of the contract is too long, but on the other hand, being we were allowing the contractors to kind of set their own timeline, we got a better bid. And the comment, as I heard it, was that, well, we're inconveniencing the farmers. We're used to inconveniences, so we'll put up with a short inconvenience for the long-term benefit.
Thank you. Any further comments? Bring it back to the commission for possible action.
Well, Mr. Chairman, with respect to RFA 174-18, given the fact that the county currently does not have an engineer and without knowing the cost of engineering services for the project, I move that all bids be rejected. The county can relook at this project down the road after the issues relating to the engineer's services is addressed.
Second the motion.
All right, it's been moved and seconded that we reject all bids regarding this RFA 174-18 and look at it again once we have I'm paraphrasing a little bit, once we have an engineer on staff. And for any further comments? All right, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same side. Motion carries. I do want to comment just from my own behalf that it's unfortunate that it had to go this route, but we've kind of learned some lessons here on the fly that we weren't aware of, and it's an unfortunate situation, but I guess it's one of those things in the cost of doing business, so to speak. So, at any rate, we apologize to all the inconvenience that we may have created for the bidders and staff as well. So, we will be doing the project at some point down the line, would be my understanding. Thank you for your consideration. We'll move on to item number 5.
RFA 176-18, fiscal year 18, fourth quarter juvenile budget adjustment with Annie Grievous, Community Corrections Director.
Good morning, Annie.
Most of you have seen these forms before. It's year-end wrapping up to finalize all the budgets from the previous year. So this is just moving no change in the bottom dollar of the budget. There's no new dollars or anything fancy like that, gosh dang. But what we did was, when you run short in one line item, you want to move it to another line item so that you can continue to exist, because we have so many grants that we can do that through from KDOC. Sherry Kraus has already contacted DOC, and they've already approved these transfers. So now it's kind of the red tape move of proof from the commission so we can move those through. So the form is very clear. On the first line, you'll see we moved from salary to office supplies, $54.98 under the Juvenile Justice Program. And it goes all the way down to that. I can go through every one, but you guys,
No, that's fine.
yeah, I didn't think so. So you can read clearly how it goes from one line item to the other line item. And the total for the juvenile budget is $37,462.14. So
Excuse me, just a second.
Go
I
ahead.
think you've clarified it for me anyway, that with respect to the grants,
Right.
that you do have to notify whoever granted you this $54 as an example on office supplies. You have to notify where that grant came from to those people and tell them that you're moving it from one, and then they
Right.
sign off on it, and that's how the process
Exactly. If it was
works.
just $54, no. But when it comes down to a $37 total line item or total budget adjustment, then you notify them. It's just cleaner. You can wait, notify them after the commission is signed, but sometimes then you get funny questions from their accountants.
Okay.
So we notified them first and then got it cleared, but we still have to run through the signature approval by the commission.
So, but I guess my question is, or clarification, on the $37,000, which is about, what, a dozen different things there, there are different grants that are involved, is that correct?
Well, it's one grant. It's the Juvenile Services Grant from KDOC, but we have many programs under that grant. So you'll notice we moved it, some to JIAS, which is our intake program, some to case management, which is our out-of-home placement kids or kids that can't live within their own family center, and our new IIP diversion program. But they're all within the same grant.
Okay, that clarifies it for me. All right,
Yeah,
thank you.
I know it can be confusing. So my request today is that you approve that $37,462.14 transfer to the different line items so we can forward those budgets on to DOC and get those dollars moved over.
Any further questions from the commission? Comments? Public comment? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the commission for action.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve to move the requested dollars as listed in RFA 176-18 within the KDOC FY18 juvenile program budgets as requested.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded that we approve to move the requested dollars as listed in RFA 176-18 within the KDOC FY18 juvenile program budgets as requested. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you. The next
All right,
form is, oh, I'm sorry. I always want to run this show. I don't know what's going on.
Some things never change.
Some might say that those of us up here don't know what's going on either. So, item number 6.
RFA 177-18, fiscal year 18, fourth quarter AISP and behavioral health budget adjustments. Danny Grievous.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Step on your toes. Same thing. We're requesting a smaller amount, $10,398.62 line items. I will clarify because, Commissioner, you asked a great question. These are 2 separate grants, but they fall under KDOC and they're all for adult services, so you're allowed to move on that. I couldn't take juvenile dollars and put them in adult or vice versa, but you can mix your adult funding and your grants among each program. And so the AISP is our adult services, and our behavioral health grant is those dollars we use for substance abuse and mental health and those kind of things. So again, we're moving from one line item to the next to cover different things. It's clear, it's a lot less money, and I'm just seeking approval for the $10,398.62.
And you correct me if I'm wrong, but again, this is not county money. This is Department of Corrections money,
Right.
Community Corrections money that has been granted by the state of Kansas or other granting authorities that have, and you're moving from one portion of your budget to another to take care of it, and it has nothing to do with taxpayer Saline County money.
Well,
So,
it might have to do with
With
taxpayer
taxpayer,
dollars,
but not
not
from Saline
from the county general budget.
right, there we go.
That's
There we go.
correct.
All right, further comments from the commission?
Annie, what's your fiscal year?
We run July 1 to end of June. So it's funny because the grants all go different. The federal funds are actually being released. I talked to you guys about the federal funds not being released because of the federal sanctuary cities. So last year we didn't get the federal grants that we applied for. The money just wasn't released. This year they are going to release them. And they run the October through September funding. So we do run on different cycles, and the gracious money you give for drug court runs on a calendar year. So it is kind of funny, but these run July to June.
Okay, one question here is like on part of this grant money coming from and being put into utilities in this, and we come from drug testing supplies. How much do we still have enough left in that department, though, to keep purchasing those supplies and stuff for?
Right. What we do
through the end of the year?
Right. So what we do is we see this, that it's coming up, but we're not, they don't want us to submit this stuff until the end of the year. So yeah, we can maintain the supplies, but this just helps us carry over and hold what we can, because what we do, and this shouldn't be unusual to anybody, and I've said it publicly a million times, is that you know the end of the year is coming and you see some dollars in a line item such as drug testing. You're going to buy those extra supplies and try to utilize every penny in that budget dollar, because if you don't, it's gone. So we start those processes earlier in that year so that we can do that.
That confuses me just a little bit in that our fiscal year, your fiscal year starts on July 1, so we're having to make some adjustments pretty early in the fiscal year.
These are adjustments from last year.
Okay.
They do not want these until the end of the year has ended, which would have been June 30th. And then you start making the paperwork adjustments. The adjustments can already be moving in that direction. Like we said, we contact DOC and got that moved, but then you finalize all the paperwork and it goes up to them. They won't even close our book for the year until sometime in October for last year.
I'm clear.
You know what? I get confused every day when Sherry walks in my office and throws stuff down and says, "We got to decide." I'm like, "Yeah, okay. Which one? What grant is this? What are we working on?" So I get it.
Further comments from the commission or questions?
Is it fair to state this sounds like typical government?
It's very fair to state that. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I'll bring it back to the commission for possible action, recommendation. Nobody's going to approve it, I guess.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve to move the requested dollars as listed in RFA 177-18 with the KDOC FY18 budgets as requested by staff.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we approve of RFA 177-18 for the year 18 fourth quarter AISP and behavioral health budget adjustments. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign, motion carries.
Thank you.
That brings us to the end of our regular agenda items. Is there any other comments, business announcements from the commission? Hearing none, then I will take a motion for adjournment.
So moved. Second.
Been moved and seconded that we adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We are adjourned. We will follow with a second meeting in the adjoining study room after a short break. Thanks for watching.